Welcome, everybody. It is a pleasure to welcome you today. We have a special event for planned for you all today, and with the topic of introduction of circular economy. Last week, we launched the hub and explained what will be the different type of activities that we're doing. And training and capacity buildings are one of the key aspects of the Western Balkan Circular Economy Hub. Today with us, we have Elin Bergman from Sweden. There are many things to share about Ellen. One thing that we would like to highlight is how grateful we are that we have her and her support throughout this establishment, this special phase of establishment, the Western Balkan Circular Economy Hub. So she's transferring and sharing very generously her experience, her knowledge. It's more than 20 years active in the field of circular economy. And with this, proudly wearing the title of Queen of Circular Economy of Sweden. Our Queen of Circular Economy, Elin Bergman, welcome. We're very happy to have you today, and we are excited to learn and dive deeper into the topic of circular economy. So please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. And it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Elin. I'm going to tell you a bit about the organization I work for, but also, of course, introduce you to circular economy. So I just wanted to say that it's totally okay if you stop me in the middle, ask questions if there's something you don't understand, or let me know if I'm talking too fast. So I'll try to do my best here. Okay, so I'll get started and I will share my screen. And I hope you can see it soon. It's loading right now. Angelina, can you see it now?
Now it's good.
Okay, good. All right, I'll get going. So I'm just gonna move some controls so I can see the screen myself. All right. So just to introduce you to the organization that I work for, I work for one of the oldest circular economy organizations or networks, business networks in the world. It's called CradleNet. And we have been around since 2009. So that was before even the term circular economy existed. And it's based on a book called Cradle to Cradle, Remaking the Way We Make Things that came around that time, 2009. And people think that I started CradleNet. I did not. I got engaged in 2014, which means I've now been engaged in the organization the last 11 years. But I also have a background working for WWF Sweden as a circular economy expert, and I've been working in sustainability for a very long time, like Angelina said. Oop. We have a fantastic team behind CradleNet. It's experts, researchers, scientists, people working in everything from circular design to circular tech, and a very strong expertise behind the organization. And you can say that we kind of we have three parts that we're working with. And of course, it's about the network. We want the members in the network to do business and teach each other about circular economy and how they work. So we are focusing on the network, but also it's about knowledge sharing. So we try to gather as much information about everything that's going on in Sweden, the Nordics, Europe, and the world, and share it to not only the members, but everywhere, like this one, like I'm doing now, this lecture. And we also try to influence policy because that's a big field that we see needs to be changing faster and they need to develop better leadership. So that's what we do. And we have around 150 members, companies as members. We also have private people that could be members that we have meetings with every single Friday, for instance. And we also try to fill knowledge gaps where we see that there's knowledge missing in the circular economy. So we develop our own studies, our own reports, action guides, and so on, and even policy reports. And like I said, we meet every single Friday. We have something called Circular Fridays every Friday where we invite speakers. It could be someone writing a report, someone who's an expert in EU legislation, anything really. And we have them make like a presentation for 30 minutes, and then the members can ask questions. So we have recorded over 140 and have a fantastic library of knowledge digitally. And like I said, we also influence policies. So what we do every year in the fall is that we send out the survey to all the political parties in Sweden, asking them about their political circular ambitions. And we've been doing this the last 6 years. And now we can see there's a big transformation in Sweden where the political parties do their own suggestions on how to become circular and so on. So we have been training them a lot. And I think you will do something similar in the Western Balkan Circular Economy Hub eventually, which is great. We also develop a lot of programs. We try to be as concrete as possible, so we don't only do theory. But for instance, this fall, we've been for 8 months training really large companies in how to become circular, not only their products and services, but the whole business models. And we're also running something called the Nordic Circularity Piloting Program, where we are focusing on technical building solutions with really big companies as well. And they're both funded by Nordic Innovation, just to mention how we work with projects. And we're also in the media a lot talking about circular economy. So usually in Sweden, at least, when there's something going on in circular economy, they call me and want me to do, tell them my opinion about what's going on or not going on. We also have an initiative called the 100 Circular Examples. And I think we're going to have something similar in the Western Balkans, which is a great, where we gather the really fantastic companies already working in circular economy. And there's a lot of initiatives done this already, like the Haga Initiative in Sweden. But we think it's very important to not only showcase the ones that are doing the things right, but also asking them, what are you in need of? Because usually it could be, oh, we need more funding, or we need, better legislation or something, more customers. So if you're interested in what's going on in Sweden, you can always see our list of the 100 circular examples. It's not finished yet, so we're still working on it. And in 2018, I also started something called the Nordic Circular Hotspot together with other Nordic people, similar to CradleNet, working for similar organizations, which is now more of a communication channel talking about what's going on in the Nordics. So if you're interested, they do a lot of events and a big summit that goes around between the Nordic countries every year. Also, everything is digital. All right, but now I'm going to talk about the topic that you're interested in, why you're here, and it's circular economy. But in order to do that, I always have to start with the economy that we currently have, and that's not sustainable, and it's a linear economy. And what does a linear economy mean? Well, it means that we are taking a lot of materials out of the ground, like metals and minerals and plastic, oil to make plastic and so on, and we are using these materials to make products. And these materials are usually unsustainable, using a lot of unsustainable fossil fuels in order to make them, or fossil energy. We ship all these materials all over the world to make components, and then we build a lot of value until we have a finished product. And then as soon as it's been sold and it's been used for maybe a very short time, maybe a year, when the warranty goes out, it's supposed to break down. So we throw them away. We throw all the value of the stuff away. And then we dig new things out of the ground. And we keep doing that faster and faster and faster. So we have fast fashion, fast furniture, fast cars, fast everything. And we're so used to now that things are breaking and we just buy new stuff because it's cheap. It's been cheap. The problem is, though, that it's horrible for the environment. And it's not, we're going to run out of resources if we keep doing this. And another problem is that if we're going to keep doing this, we're going to drown in garbage and waste, and it's going to poison the planet. We're already seeing all this carbon emissions, and it has a huge negative effect on the planet. So this is not something that's sustainable, and we need to stop doing this. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to go over to a circular economy. So this is everything that I'm going to tell you about today. But this is maybe the most simple way to talk about it. Today we have the linear take, make, waste economy, like I mentioned. In some parts of the world, like in the Nordics, we also have a bit of a recycling economy, which means that we are recycling some of the materials, not at all as much as we should. But in a circular economy, we don't even have waste in a circular economy. Everything is looped back and has the most high value. So if you look at the world 150 years ago, everything was circular. We didn't have waste. Waste was fertilizer that was put back on the fields again. Nothing was poisonous. So this is something we should be striving for again. But it doesn't mean that we have to live like we did 150 years ago. We can still live thriving, fantastic lives. There's many ways to describe the circular economy, but one of the most famous ones is this one, and it's made by an organization called the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. And Ellen MacArthur is this fantastic woman that made me interested in circular economy. She was she broke the world record when she was very young, sailing around the world herself. And I'm a fan because I'm also a sailor. So this is the reason why I got in touch in circular economy in 2013, because I saw a lecture with her in Sweden. And the people invited her to Sweden was CradleNet, where I now work. Anyway, she was very frustrated with how the world was working, and she was using the boat as a likeness to the planet, because if she sailed around the world and ate all the food the first day, drank all the water the first day, used up all the energy, she wouldn't made it around the world. And this is exactly what we're doing on the planet right now. We're eating everything at once, and we don't leave anything for future generations. So this planet is kind of sailing around the universe, and we need to take care of it, just like she did when she tried to sail around the world, and she actually did, and broke the world record. Anyway, she tried to explain the circular economy, what we were supposed to move into in a very good way. And the difference from the old linear economy that I just mentioned and this economy is that instead of focusing on how can we sell as much to people, sell them unnecessary things they don't need, they were focusing on the need instead. What need do people have? And usually we don't have the need to own a lot of things. The need we have is to maybe not own a car, but transport ourselves from point A to point B. And transportation can be done in many, many ways. And it's about to doing it the most efficient way as possible. So it could be a number of ways to transporting ourselves. It could be using a bike or public transportation or trains or airplanes, whatever. But it's about like how can we do it as efficiently as possible? And everybody using a car is not efficient at all, because usually you drive for a short while and then the car stands still. It just takes up space. It's just one person in a car that can take 5 people. Not efficient at all. So instead, it's focusing on the need that people have. And that's not only talking about transportation, but everything. Like it could be clothing or food or housing, anything. It's about designing things, keeping the value of things as high as possible for as long as possible. So when we design things, the design phase is extremely important in the circular economy. You need to design things to not only last for a long time, so high quality is very important, but also using materials that already been recycled and can be reused again, be repaired and upgrade and so on, and sold over and over again if you get bored. But they're supposed to last as long as possible. And you have to kind of include the whole value chain in order to do that. And the blue side here, it's the technical side. This is in Swedish. Sorry, I should have changed it to the English one. But it's about, like I said, the user is in the middle. We're designing things right, and then it's about cycling it back. But the best thing you could do is just have a very long cycle. Just keep the quality and use it for generations, and yeah, maybe even get the value to go up instead of down, because now we just throw the value away. But on the green side here, it's the same thing, but this is the material that can grow back. So this is the biological side. This the blue side is the technical side. It's the same thing, but in the green side, things can actually grow back if you kind of maintain it in a good way. So for instance, I usually describe it as using, if you want to build or sell a wood table, you have to take a tree from the forest, and in order to make this table, you have to chop down the tree, and that makes a hole in the forest. And remember this hole. when you design this table, design it to be not trendy, because if it's trendy, you're going to get bored of it very fast. You cannot paint it with poisonous colors and things or glue it together. It's supposed to be something that you can repair and upgrade many times over, and something that also, like I said, is not trendy. So a classic design is very important. But then if you make a table, you use, organic, non-poisonous, not so bad chemicals in order to make this table. Once it's worn out and you sold it many times and you keep the value as high as possible, then maybe you can make it into a shelf or a cardboard. But the nutrients of this table from this wood is supposed to go back into the hole in the forest again. That's how you close the loop. Otherwise, you need to, in order to make a new tree, to make a new table, you have to have, artificial fertilizer in the forest, and that's not sustainable either. So looping nutrients back is important in the biological side. And there's two red arrows down here, and what it says is minimizing systematic leakages and negative effects. And what that means is that we've been pumping the economy full with really bad chemicals that are not allowed anymore. So to some extent, not at all as much as today, we need to burn some things in order to take those bad chemicals out. And the ash that's produced from burning, we're supposed to put away for a while until we know what to do with it, because right now we can't handle it. But it's a very, very small part compared to what we burn today. So yeah, there's other ways to describe the circular economy too, and I think I really love this one. It's the donut economy by another fantastic woman called Kate Raworth. And she is also including the planetary boundaries that we have, because right now we are, crashing into a lot of the planetary boundaries. Like, for instance, the climate change boundary. This is pushing all the climate systems out of bound. And it's creating a lot of problems. We have too much heat, too much rain, we have storms and floods and so on. So it's disrupting the planetary system. And you can see here that we already disrupting a lot of them. Climate change is one, chemical pollution is another one, nitrogen and phosphorus, over-fertilization. We're also using too much land, and we have big biodiversity loss. So this is a big problem. And when it comes to people, in order to make us have good lives, we also need to have some foundation. So we're talking about the planetary boundary, which is kind of the roof. And now we're talking about the floor that people needs to stand on, which is also that we need to have food and water and safety and housing and education and energy and a lot of things in order to have good lives. So if we have that as a foundation, then there's a part where we can live really fantastic lives, and that's called the safe operating space. The problem is that we don't really have any of this. There are some few countries that has a really nice donut economy, but very few. There's another fantastic woman called Nancy Bocken that's also made some circular principles, and it's about narrowing. And narrowing means using less materials as well is very important. But also, like I mentioned before, it's not about looping things fast, and that's circular in the circular economy. It's about slowing the loops, like I said. That's why we need high quality things that last for a long time. And when I mentioned the tree that we need to, close the loops, that's also very important to get the nutrients back or the materials back into the economy again. And then a thing that's coming also that's been added the last, I would say, 5 years in the circular economy is also because we've been destroying nature so much. And we need nature in order to keep living good lives. We also need to regenerate nature, the nature that we've been destroying. So it's about improving the natural environment at the same time. So that should also be something that companies are striving for. All right, so now I'm going to talk about more. So what is the circular economy exactly? Sometimes when I'm out speaking, I can hear that people are kind of saying that it's the same thing as climate change, or it's the same thing as biodiversity or water. It's not. It's a very strong tool to fix many of the problems that we have. And there is an organization called Chatham House that made a survey looking at the 17 sustainability UN sustainability goals in Agenda 2030. And they're saying that most of these goals can be fixed using circular economy as a tool. So that's also very, very good about the circular economy. And this in Swedish says hållbar konsumtion and produktion, but this is goal 12, which is mean sustainable consumption and production. And that's usually the goal that you kind of connect to the circular economy, but actually circular economy is a strong tool for all of them. I should have had this in English too, I just realized, sorry. Another thing that's also important regarding the circular economy is like it's fixing a lot of the problems that we have. And one of the big problems is that we're over consuming too much. We're buying too much stuff that we don't need, and it's just generating a lot of waste, like I mentioned before. And if you look at this map, it's when in the year when we start over consuming what the planet can replenish. So what if we take out a lot of things out of the ground? I mean, if we need food, the planet needs to be able to grow us the food that we need. Otherwise, we go hungry. But right now, we're extracting too much materials out of the ground. So if you're early in this map, like Qatar, they're already on February 6th. That means that on February 6th, they're already over consuming what the planet can replenish. There's some countries here that's not even mentioned on this map. And this means that they're actually in harmony, living in harmony with nature and what nature can replenish. But me, that comes from Sweden, usually people think that the Nordics, we are a leading star when it comes to sustainability. We're so good. But you can see here, Denmark, Finland, Sweden, Norway, we are very early in the year as well. And I think your countries in the Western Balkans are probably much better. You're down here somewhere. But still, none of us are sustainable. And the global average is August 1st, and it comes earlier and earlier every year. And that's because we're extracting more and more materials using more and more. And there are some really big risks connected to this. There is a global risk report made every year by the World Economic Forum looking at what are the big risks right now. And because we have this, situation right now with war and things, there are some other things than the environment that's on the top of the list short term. Right now, misinformation and disinformation, now with AI and everything, is very, very high risk. But we also have climate change, extreme weather events and so on. State-based armed conflict, of course, because Ukraine, Russia, and Israel, Palestine, there's a lot of wars going on. Also a lot of polarization and so on. But if you look a bit further ahead in the future, in 10 years' time, you see the green topics are more and more problematic. So climate change, extreme weather events are more and more severe. Biodiversity loss and ecosystem collapse is also up there. Critical change to Earth systems and natural resource shortages. And this is where the circular economy comes in. Because if we can just take care of the resources we have in a much more efficient and better way than we currently have or are doing, then we don't have this problem. So we need to fix this fast. And a beautiful thing about the circular economy that not so many people are aware of is right now when you try to fix the climate and lower the carbon emissions, the only thing that we're focusing on is the energy system. We're supposed to build a lot of solar panels and wind power mills, but what we don't know or talk about so much is between 40 and 70% of the carbon emissions come from what we consume or how we consume and produce things, the circular economy. So this is what you can only go half with changing the energy systems. We also have to fix how we consume and produce things. And this is what the circular economy can fix. Another thing that's super important that is not talked about so much either is that we're going to run out of very precious resources if we keep doing this. Just by 2030, a lot of the fantastic resources we need for technology and solar panels and electric cars and so on are going to start running out. We get less and less when we build mines to get these materials out of the ground, and it's more and more expensive. So by 2030 already, that's in 5 years, we have problems with lead, gold, tin, chromium, zinc, and silver even. 2040, we have problems with cadmium, zirconium, bismuth, and then it's going to be really tough because by 2050, boron, copper, tungsten, nickel, manganese, niobium, and mercury will be a problem, and so on and so forth. And copper is used in everything. I mean, especially electric cars. We're supposed to electrify everything now, but in an old car, we're using about 12 kilos of copper. In a new car, electric car, we're using about 200 kilos. So we need more and more of copper, but it's running out faster and faster. So we need to either figure out how to share things instead of everybody owning a car. We can't even change all the current cars in Germany to become electric because we don't have enough copper as it is. So this is a big problem. And like I said, the materials will run out. And this is just 2 articles talking about this. We don't have enough materials for solar panels and wind turbines, and also lithium globally will that we need for batteries are going to run out. Oh, now we had the same picture again. Sorry. And this again, double. And like I said before, it's also about stopping biodiversity loss. That's another planetary boundary that we're kind of crashing into right now. And there's been 2 really good reports talking about how the circular economy can fix this too. Because if we stop consuming so much, it will actually regenerate nature and it will be so much better for animals. We have lost about 70% of the populations of vertebrate animals already. So since I was born, 70% of the animals are gone. So we need to get nature back. And this is what the circular economy can help with as well. And like I said, circular economy is about creating really value from what we're calling waste today. There is no such thing as waste, actually. It's just resources in the wrong place. We just invented waste garbage dumps like 200 years ago. And I mean, it's just filled with things that we're going to mine in the future. And if you look at this little boy, maybe it's a bit hard to see, but he's out on a waste dump gathering plastics and cardboard. And he's not doing that because it's fun, because it's worth something. He can get money for that. And if we just thought about this from the beginning, we wouldn't even have this problem with waste that we're currently facing. And we have enormous problem today. So if we could just build systems, infrastructure to make sure we don't have waste, and also we need to fix the consumption, the way we consume from the beginning, because it's worth so much money. And in some parts of the world, we are understanding this now because secondhand is gaining so much momentum. In Sweden and a lot of parts, big parts of Europe and also United States, secondhand clothing is enormous right now. It's going much, much better than fast fashion. And the largest clothing store in France is Vinted. It's a vintage clothing store online. It's amazing. It's because it's worth money. Another beautiful thing about circular economy is going to fix a lot of the inequalities that we have. I mean, we don't have a resource problem really on the planet. We have enough resources for everybody to live fantastic, thriving lives. What we have is an inequality problem where the 1% of people are owning more than 90% of all the financial resources on the planet. But we should divide these resources much more equal than we're currently doing. And I really love this picture. It's so strong because it shows how crazy we are acting at the moment, where some people are living as rats in slums and it's packed with people everywhere. And then on the other side, just a small, small wall, there is super luxury. And they have tennis courts and they have swimming pools, but you can't even see one person. Because if you look at all these apartments where everybody had their own swimming pools, you can see that they're abandoned. They're probably just investment objects, where the rich people, they just buy them as a good investment, while people here are living on top of each other. This is something that should be illegal, and this is something that also circular economy addresses. We need to use the economy and make it more equal. Another beautiful thing is that we're now understanding that the crazy things that we've been doing the last 100 years, just striving for more monetary wealth and also stuff. I mean, everybody wants a bigger house, a bigger car, a cooler, more cooler stuff than the neighbor. But in honesty, it doesn't make us happier. And now we understand this. What does make us happier is to maybe have more time to spend time with our family and friends, with our loved ones, experience things, be able to travel. So time is the most important and most valuable thing, not money, not stuff. And this is also something the circular economy is addressing, the need-based economy. So what we know now is when people are dying, they're not regretting that, oh, I should have worked a bit more or I should have bought an extra car. They're regretting that they didn't spend more time doing the things they love. And usually those things doesn't cost so much. So we should be focusing on the things that actually make us happy. And the circular economy is focusing on that too. And like I told you before, we have a lot of risks going on right now. And one of the things that's happening is that there's a trade war going on, started by Donald Trump. He had put a lot of tariffs on a lot of things. And people think it's about, the United States want, get their economy booming and get more people working and so on. It's not about that. He's fighting for the resources. And that's the reason why he went to Ukraine and say, yeah, we will keep supporting you in the war against Russia. But in order to do that, we want to have a mineral deal signed with you. That's also why he wants to buy Canada, or wants Canada to be an American state, and also wanted to buy Greenland. It's a war on resources going on at the moment. So don't think it's about anything else. It's the same for Putin. The reason why he wants Ukraine, there's a lot of minerals there, of course. Okay, so how circular is the world then? How much of the materials that we dig out of the ground comes back into the economy every year? And a company that's been looking at this is the circular economy, which we've been working with a lot, and they've also been members of CradleNet. They make this fantastic report of the material flows on the planet and what comes back into the economy again. And usually I do a quiz here and I ask you and you can guess, but I think I would just show you. So we're digging 120 billion tons of materials out of the ground every year globally. And now only 6.9% of those values that we dig out of the ground, those materials comes back into the economy after one use. So the rest, more than 90%, is just wasted. And this is crazy to me. I mean, why would you throw valuable materials away? But we do, and it's worth enormous amount of money, which I will just show you in a bit. And this is also the reason why we crossed all those 5 planetary boundaries, climate change and so on, that I told you before. What about Sweden then? Because, like I said, everybody thinks the Nordics are so good. Well, my country is not better. We're actually worse than the global average because we are only 3.4% circular. And that's because we are so rich. We overconsume. And like every time we move into a new house, a new apartment, we just take a new kitchen and just throw it out because we don't like the style of it. And we keep buying new cars and new phones, and we have multiple houses and so on. But Sweden is also a very big extractive economy. So we have a lot of mining and we have a lot of forests. So we do need to take those materials and, of course, export it to other countries. So those materials are hard to get back into the economy again. But still, we can be much, much more circular. Like, for instance, the household plastic that we produce, more than 90% of it is burned. and that could be recycled back into the economy again. So in Sweden, we create about 164 million tons of waste, and 86% of this is mineral waste from when we mine. And that's not even included in the statistics, interesting enough. So we usually, when we say, or the Swedish government say that we have much less waste. So the remaining amount is 22 million tons, and of this 4.7 million tons is household waste. So about 449 kilos of household waste is generated per person. And I checked the Western Balkan, and it's kind of similar. It's between 350 and 500 kilos per person. So you're also creating a lot of waste. And these articles are saying Sweden is losing 42 billion Swedish kronor a year because we don't recycle enough. And they're looking at 5 materials in this article. It's a kind of older article, but if you're just looking at steel, aluminum, cement, plastic, and paper, if you just recycle a bit better, we can save 42 billion Swedish kronor. And that's not bad, right? So we're wasting money away. Another thing that people think is very good in the Nordics, and especially Sweden, is, oh, but you're so great. You don't have waste dumps. You're burning all your waste and you make it into sustainable energy. No, it's horrible. It's already been decided also that in the European Union, waste to heat generation, it's part of the linear economy. So it's going to be banned. But we have that as a bad hybrid car right now. So still a very linear system that we need to move away from. The problem, though, is that we built an infrastructure in Sweden where we have 34 enormous waste to energy plants. And we import enormous amount of waste from other countries, especially Norway, but it's 1.3 million tons of waste that we import to Sweden to burn here every year. 60,000 trucks comes from Norway every year to be burned in Sweden with waste. And then we take the poisonous ash that's created when we burn this, and that ash is actually full with fantastic critical raw materials, its nutrients and so on, but it's mixed together with a lot of chemicals, plastics and so on. And we take that ash and we dump it outside of Oslo in an old abandoned mine. And I always been saying, oh, this is something that will mine in the future. And I went to Norway a few weeks ago, and they're saying they already started. But what if we didn't have this stupid, infrastructure, and we didn't create waste from the beginning? Then we don't have to do all these, not very sustainable and circular things. So if people are talking in the Western Balkans that it's a great idea to create waste to energy plants, tell them no. It's better to become circular from the beginning instead. It's much, much more efficient to build solar panels and wind power mills instead of burning waste, because it also creates a lot of carbon emissions, of course. And in the Nordic countries, there's a lot of things going on. I already mentioned what's going on in Sweden, but we also make a big report every year. And last year, to see how far the business sector have come. But we only done it in Sweden before. But last year we actually did it for the whole Nordics, and it's called the Circular Economy Outlook 2024. And hopefully you will do something similar in the Balkans. What we did was that we asked all the companies on the stock market, small companies, mid-sized companies, and large cap companies, how do you have circular economy in your business strategy at all? And when we asked them, it's now 86% of companies in Denmark, Finland, Norway, and Sweden said that they have incorporated circular economy in their business strategies. And this is amazing. When we started doing this report in 2018, most of the companies didn't know what circular economy was. So now it's amazing to see that 86% of the companies have put circular economy in their business strategies. And you can see it's a bit different in the different countries, but how many companies answered, but it's still very, very high frequency of companies answering. And also 86% is amazing. And I think it might be a bit lower in the Balkans, but I'm not sure. It would be nice to see how it is. You can also see that 69% of the companies answered that they think that their competitors will develop significant circular capabilities within the next 5 years. So it's interesting to see that most of the companies think that everybody else are doing much more than they are doing themselves. And when we ask them what's hindering the circular transition, well, they always say, oh, but the other companies are not asking for circular products or services. Okay, but are you also asking for circular products or services? No, they say. So they are frustrated that nobody's asking for it, but they're not asking themselves either. So companies, you need to start asking for circular business or products and services. Otherwise, we can't get this market to start moving. So that's very important. Yes, let's see if we can change the picture here. Come on. Okay. Okay, but even if it's almost 90% of the companies have said that they have circular economy in their business strategy, we also wanted to ask them, but okay, how fast are you moving? So if you, I mean, how much action is going on in the Nordics? And when we asked this or looked into it, it's only 21% action rate. So we need to step it up and make them move faster. So this is something we call the Circular Business Index. So how much action there is. It's going to be interesting to see how much action there is in the Balkans as well. Okay, let's see if I can move. It's stuck again. Okay. And in the European Union, there's a lot of things going on as well. I'm going to go through it a bit fast here, but we have a circular economy action plan, and we're now on the second one even, and then there's a third one coming. But in this one from 2024, it's focusing on product life cycles, production and design, consumption, waste management, and the market for recycled materials. There's still, it's not really a finished market yet, so we need to get that going. And there are some priority sectors: plastic, food waste, critical raw materials, construction and demolition waste, and biomass and bio-based products. But in the last version, also textiles, electronics, and packaging was focused in focus as well. And it also highlights the importance of innovation and investment and the need for a system for monitoring and surveillance. So this is something they're working on in the European Union as well. And there are some new EU legislation that's come that really sets, helps the circular transition. And one thing is the EU taxonomy. It's about moving the financial flows in a circular direction, circular and sustainable. So what it did was create a taxonomy list over the types of sectors that are sustainable, that the money should flow into. And this is why I say that waste to energy is bad, because it's nothing that anybody wants to finance in the European Union. Another thing that's coming out is EU eco design directive. So it's about making the products circular and sustainable as well. And they have a lot of criteria for how to make circular products. But also what you can talk about, the EU Green Claims Directive. It's about, if I have a product and I said, oh, it's sustainable and it's green and it's environmentally friendly. If you don't have proof of this, and some ways of saying things like it's green or environmentally friendly, it's going to be banned in the European Union. And if you state something that's not true and can be scientifically proven, then you will have you will get a lot of fines and pay a lot of money. So it's very good to know about what you can say and not. And you even need to verify what you're claiming with a third party. So they will check if you have the scientific proof and so on. So communication is also extremely important in the new Circular Economy Action Plan. And a fantastic thing is that Ursula von der Leyen, the head of the European Union, said not long ago, just a few weeks ago, that EU will become the world leader in circular economy. She says this: circularity will be a priority. It is the key to maximizing the EU's limited resources, reducing dependencies, and enhancing resilience. It reduces waste, lowers production costs, lowers CO2 emissions, and creates a more sustainable industrial model that benefits the environment and enhances economic competitiveness. The ambition of the Clean Industrial Deal is to make the EU the world leader on circular economy by 2030. And that's just 5 years away. And I think this is amazing. It's going to be so interesting to see what comes out of this. But there are some setbacks as well. Like I said, we have the EU taxonomy. It's about moving the financial flows in the right direction. We also have something called the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, CSRD, and it's been a lot of focus on getting. It was about 50,000 companies that needed to report according to this, and this is where also you need to report on circular economy and get control over your value chain. It's the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive and also Sustainable Finance Disclosure Regulation. It's where the financial actors need to also disclose how they work. But then something called the Omnibus comes, and that means that they will make it easier to report, which is good, but it might be in the end a very less companies reporting. So maybe it will not be 50,000 companies. It might only be like 15,000, which is, I think, very sad. I think more should report, because when they report, they need to have control of their value chain and they understand what they can do with their resources in a much more circular way. On a global scale, a lot of things are happening as well. So one of the beautiful things is that there's something called the Global Circularity Protocol being developed. So you probably have heard about the Greenhouse Gas Protocol. That's how you calculate and report on your carbon emissions. And companies have been doing this the last 20 years or so. But it's been very hard to understand how you report on circularity. I mean, now we have in the European, at least, the circular CSRD, corporate, the things that I just mentioned, how to report on not only circularity, but like if you're sustainable or not. But the greenhouse gas protocol is something that's used globally, not only by the European Union. So hopefully this one will be something that will be something that all companies will be using in the future. It's not done yet. The plan is to have it finished by 2026. So it's the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, the UN, that's working on this together with other organizations. So we try to see what's going on with this. Another thing that's come out is the ISO standards for circular economy. And the good thing about this is that they finally made a global definition about what circular economy is. And why is this important? Because that has been working a very long time with circular economy, a thing that I've been meeting a lot is companies saying, oh, but there's 260 definitions of what a circular economy is. So it's very hard for us to know, which one to use and so on. And I know because I wrote one of them for, internationally for WWF. But what the ISO standard did is gathering 89 countries to write a final definition that I think is really, really good. And the reason I think it's good is because it's this one. Circular economy is an economic system that uses a systematic approach to maintain a circular flow of resources by recycling, retaining, or increasing their value while contributing to sustainable development. And the reason why I underline while contributing to sustainable development is because this is something that's been something that companies have been saying, oh, but what if we circulate oil? That's not, I mean, that's also circular. No, it's not. If it doesn't lead to sustainable development, then it's not circular. And now we have decided on this and everybody can use the same definition. But there's also a lot of other ISO standards come out. There's one for product circularity data sheet, measuring and assessing circular performance. It's about vocabulary, principles, and guidance for implementation, guidance on transition of business models and value networks, and review of existing value networks, and performance-based approach analysis of case studies. So if you want to use ISO for your company, it's very, very good systems to use as well. So that's a recommendation. And like I said, it's all about creating value and maintaining value of resources that have just been thrown away. And now I'm going to talk about the value. So Accenture made a report, it's a pretty long time ago now, but they said that circular economy can contribute to $4.5 trillion by 2030 and as much as $25 trillion by 2050. So you see, it's worth so much money that we currently are just wasting away. And McKinsey and Company did the same thing, but for Europe. And they are saying that adopting circular economy principles could not only benefit Europe environmentally and socially, but could also generate a net economic benefit of 1.8 trillion euros by 2030. So if you want to take part of these enormous sums, you should go into the circular economy sector. Let's see. Yes. And like I mentioned before, there's a lot of problems that the circular economy can fix that we currently are having. And things that I think is really beautiful is then when we start to think about how crazy we are using things now and what we could do instead, it makes a lot of sense. So for instance, just to mention a few things, a lot of people are buying power drills, and the only time they're using the power drill is when they move into a new apartment and want to drill holes in the wall so they can put up paintings and things and make it look pretty. Usually you use those power drills 3% of the times. Otherwise, it just takes up a lot of space in your apartment or in your house. So why don't we just share drills or rent drills when we need them instead of buying them if they're just laying around? And cars is another thing. So I just mentioned it before, but they're only used 5% of the time. So why are we just using a lot of space to have cars standing still? The best thing in the circular economy is using things as much as possible and sharing them with others to keep the value as high as possible. It's the same thing with offices. Now, after COVID, we do understand that we don't really need offices that much. And they are just empty most of the time. When we go to work, our apartments or houses are empty. And then when we leave from work, the offices are empty. It should always be used by someone. I don't even have an office. I work from home. Much smarter. And we save a lot of money in the office or from renting an office. And the average office occupancy in the European Union is only 40%. Another thing that this is crazy to me. And in the Nordics, we own about between 10 to 50,000 things. 10 to 50,000. I mean, one of the biggest stresses we have in the Nordics, okay, we are very rich, we have a lot of money, but it's clearing out our closets because we have too much clothes and we have too much stuff in our basements and in our attics. So why are we just buying things? We don't even know what those 10 to 50,000 things are. And in a generic American household, they have 300,000 things. Craziness. We need to stop buying so much stuff. It's the same thing with other sectors as well. Construction is a very wasteful sector, but also mobility and mining and food and so on. We waste a lot of those as well. 60% of clothing that we buy are just used within 1 year and then they're either thrown away or burnt. So we're just using things in a very, very, very short time, and usually because it's very trendy. 30% of the food is thrown away, and 50% of all the plastics are just used once and then burnt or thrown away. And plastics, as you know, it can last forever. This is a thing that I really like, and it's called the value hill, and it's showcasing what we're doing today. So like I said, we're taking a lot of materials out of the ground, we're shipping it all around the planet to make components. Then we manufacture it, we sell it into a store, and then a user using that product for a very short time. And while we're taking all the material and making the components, we keep adding value to the product. And it has the highest value in a store, and then the person uses it for a short time, and then we just destroy the value, throw it away. Instead of doing it like in the value hill, we take things that are already made and we upgrade it, we refurbish, we use the materials as secondhand materials into our production. And then it's about using the things longer. I think this should be wider, actually. But it's about keeping the value, looping it back into the economy over and over again. So this is what we should be striving for. Okay, now we come to the fun part, which everybody likes, and this is the circular business models. And I'm going to show you a bit first about the theory behind before I show you the real cases. But one thing to remember that I mentioned in the beginning is design. If you design things right from the beginning, not only things, but also business models and services, you can lower the carbon emissions by 80%. So this is very important to remember. Design things right from the beginning. And there's a lot of strategies on how to become circular. And maybe I mentioned a few. Reduce, reuse, recycle are the most famous ones, but there are a lot of R's around the circular economy. These are 10 R's. There are many, many more. I think Walter Stahel, who's one of the fathers of circular economy, I think he's up to 200 or something. But anyway, these are the most famous ones. And I like this ladder because it's like if you are high in the ladder of the circular economy, then you're doing the best. And you are using less materials and so on. So just to mention a few, and I will explain this also when I show you the cases, but refuse, if you stop selling things that nobody needs, that's the best thing you could do, but also stop buying things that nobody needs. Rethink the way we do things, redesign, but also reduce the amount of materials. Reusing things are also, of course, super important. Repairing, refurbish, remanufacture, repurpose. But the last thing you should do is recycle. Why is this? Because people think that recycling is super good. We cannot recycle our way out of this problem. And when you recycle things, you break down the materials, you usually downcycle it. And also you use a lot of energy. So if you can do all these things above, refuse, rethink, reduce, it's much better than recycling. Recycling is important. It's a big, important part of the circular economy, but it's the actual last thing you could do, you should do. So remember this. And in the end, of course, we need to recover a lot of materials, but landfill and incineration, when we throw things away or burn it, is the actual last thing you should do. So try to move up the R ladder. Oop. And RISE, Research Institute of Sweden, which is one of our members that we also have a collaboration with, they describe the circular business models that it has three important dimensions in order to value keep for products and materials. So using often, very important. So how much or how often is a product used during its functional life? This is a very important question to ask yourself if you're designing a product. But it's also about using longer, like I mentioned before. How well does this product retain its value? But it's also, of course, about recirculating or, in the end, recycling. How much of a product's material comes from previous user phases or will be used in a new user phase? So if you think about all of these three things, then you will do good. And to mention some companies already working circular, we have one of my members here. They used to be called Accus, but now they are Modulex. They've just been bought. They are making signs for buildings. So it could be a school or an office or something. And this person on the picture is Amanda Carwood. She's fantastic. She decided to make sure that the signs last longer. First of all, you usually have a sign on the building for 3 years, but they can last 30 years. She started taking down metal sheets from buildings that were demolished and making signs of those. So it's recycled. And then she started even leasing out the signs in order to get the signs back once someone didn't want to use them anymore. But they've gone even further. So now when they get a public procurement offer, for instance, or like, okay, we want to buy 5 signs from you. We are a school, for instance, and want to buy 5 signs. What they do at Modulex is they send out their own person to look at that building, that school or that office, and make their own evaluation. And usually they go back to the customer saying, well, now we looked at your house or your building. We will not sell you more than 3 signs because you're not in need of more signs than 3. And this could sound a bit strange because isn't every company's idea to sell more? But actually, what happens is they save a lot of money for that company or organization, that school. And they are very happy because they save resources and money. What do that customer do? They recommend Modulex to everybody else. They are amazing. They saved us money. If you were going to buy a sign, buy it from them, which means that they're actually growing the market by selling less. They sell more by selling less as a business model. So they refuse to sell, and in order to do that, they sell more. And the signs they sell are circular. So that's amazing. Another fantastic company that's also members of CradleNet, they're called Transparent. They are making speakers for sound systems. They have already used the eco design requirements from the European Union before it even came out. So it's kind of like a product passport ready as well. So they have designed the speakers already using recycled materials. They do it modular. So everything is designed circular. So if something breaks down, you don't have to buy a full new speaker. You can just upgrade and repair that part. And they also offering, of course, repair. So it's all about designing things right from the beginning. Very, very ambitious and good management team there. Spotify is another company that's been disrupting a market for a long time. When they started, they were competing with the market that were, selling these plastic CDs. They were made out of oil, and it was shipped all over the planet, and it took up a lot of space in your living rooms. And then if the CD got a scratch, you had to throw them away or buy new things. New CDs. What Spotify did was to just rethink the whole thing, and instead they made an app so you can have all the music in the world in your phone, which not only made our lives much easier, but it's so much easier to access all the music. Instead, you pay a monthly fee, and Spotify is doing amazingly well in this sector. So this could be done for all sectors, all products, digitalizing them, just rethink the business model. Another member of CradleNet in Sweden is Timber. They make wood walls for houses, and they are using as little material as possible. They're even using air. So when they make these house walls, they can even be, you can build a house and then you can even take it down and move it if you want to. But they try to have zero waste when they make these wood walls. So when they are making them, there's a lot of spill materials, and they can use that to sell as wood material for horses and rabbits and so on that they can sell in pet stores, which make them make even more money in the end. So it's fantastic. Selling air and waste. One Pan is another company that are also members in Sweden in CradleNet, and they're making frying pans. And this person is a famous chef in Sweden. He's been on TV a lot. His name is Tarek Taylor. And he was so annoyed that they make a lot of frying pans, promising that they will never break and they will never be scratched and everything. But he was saying that it's not true. All the frying pans will be scratched in the end. Why won't we make a very high quality frying pan that's already made by recycled materials, no hazardous chemicals. And once it's scratched, because it will be scratched, you can get it back into the store and get a new one. So they will refurbish the pan and sell it again and again and again. So they will last forever, but they need a new coating. So once it's scratched. And you can even rent these frying pans. I have one at home, for instance. Foxway is another circular company in Sweden. They are working in circular tech. Actually, we have many of these circular tech companies as members in CradleNet. Foxway is one. We have Inrego, we have Three Step IT, we have Advania, and so on. But Foxway are now worth 8 billion Swedish kroner. And they have a very circular business model. They sell new phones and computers, but they try to make people or companies buy them and use them for such a long time as possible. And then maybe after 4 years instead of 3, which is the average, they take them back, they fix them, refurbish them, and then they sell them again and again and again and again. So they sell the secondhand products on other markets. So they will be used as much as possible. And this made them very attractive. So they've been bought by Nordic Capital because they think that they only want to finance sustainable and circular businesses. And Foxway is, of course, one of those. So this shows that it's very attractive for investors as well. We have another company called Patagonia. There's a few out there so far, but they are really focusing on regenerative business models. Patagonia, I don't know if you know about them. They make outdoor clothing for if you're hiking and want to stay in nature. And they have been sustainable for a very long time, but they want to do it even better because they do see that what they produce does have a negative effect on nature. So they now also helped make a certification called regenerative organic certification. So now when you grow cotton, for instance, instead of using monocultures that sucks a lot of nutrients out of the ground and makes farming land depleted and not being, it's not healthy soil, they are growing it in a way that regenerates the soil and binds a lot of carbon. It doesn't need mineral fertilizer or artificial fertilizer or chemicals. So it's about growing things in a natural way. And another company that did this is Unilever. They're a huge, huge company and they grow a lot of food. And they even developed this report with regenerative agriculture principles. And just regenerative production is getting more and more momentum. So I really recommend that you study up on this because this is something that's coming and becoming more and more popular as well. Let's see. Yes, another example of this is this doesn't have an R in it, but industrial symbiosis. This is when you take one company's waste and make it into your product or your part of your product at least. A company that has done this is Crumbs Beer. It's one of my members as well. They are taking one of the biggest waste products from food stores and bakeries, which is bread, because people want fresh bread. So we throw away enormous amounts every day. And what usually the bread is used for now in Sweden is that we are using it to make biogas or pig's feed. So we feed pigs with old bread. But now instead, they take all the old bread and they make beer out of it. And what comes out of the waste from beer production is then made into biogas. And what's made as a waste product from that can be put as fertilizer back on the fields to grow new corn to make new bread and the bread they can use for beer and so on. So it's a nice symbiosis. And more and more industrial plants or areas in China is doing this. They're basing their whole business parks on industrial symbiosis, which is super smart. So they're looking at the big industries. What ways do they have that the neighboring industry can use as a product? And then they try to kind of connect them together. So this is something that I think will be very natural to do in the future. Another thing that's a circular business model, well, part of the circular economy that I mentioned, but the last thing you should do, but still an important part, is of course recycling. And because we're recycling more and more and technology is moving, and now we're using a lot of electric cars, that means that the battery recycling market will grow big time. So it's expected to grow to 28 billion by 2030. That's just in 5 years. So it's a big, big industry here. And also because we're building so much renewable energy now that we're going to also need to recycle solar panels. And that's another market that will be worth 2.7 billion by 2030, we think. I mean, solar panel lasts a long time, so it's not so much coming out. There are a lot of circular tools out there to get started. So I'm going to end with this chapter. Just to mention a few, this is in Swedish though, but there's an English version. This is a circular business model canvas, which is made by one of the original founders of Cradlenet, Tobias Jansson. It's also been funded by the European Union. So if you're interested in starting a company, use a circular business model canvas. You can just Google it and you will find it. RISE, that I mentioned before, Research Institute of Sweden, have made a very nice design guide for future adaptive circular design, how to create longer lasting products for circular offerings. So this is a really good innovation guide for circular change agents. So if you're interested in circular design, you should read this one. We at Cradlenet made the project a few years ago with Stena Circular Recycling or Circular Consulting, where we looked at the business model going from selling a product to selling a service instead. And we had a lot of companies in Cradlenet that tried this out, but they didn't make it. They went bankrupt. So we wanted to figure out, why is this business model working sometimes? And it's been fantastic. We have one of the oldest examples of that is Rolls-Royce. Like almost every airplane engine is Rolls-Royce power by the hour airplane engines. So they're not part of the airplane itself. It's actually owned by Rolls-Royce that keeps the airplane engines lasting and not in need of service. I mean, everybody wants to have a secure airplane to fly in. So this is what they've been doing, extremely successful. So there are some really fantastic examples, but we saw that the small companies trying this business model out wasn't working a lot. Some of them were, but so what we did was a huge study together with Stena Circular Consulting, looking at and interviewing companies that were successful and asked what they did right, and also interviewing the companies that did, middle okay, and the ones that went bankrupt, and asked them, why did you go bankrupt, did you think? And then we found eventually 9 critical challenges and also how to fix those challenges. And we even developed a methodology. So if you want to try this out, use this methodology, because then you will not get stuck in those 9 critical challenges. So this is something you can download for free on our website. So I really recommend that you read this as well. There are some other really good playbooks out there for circular business. There's one made, the Nordic Circular Economy Playbook by Nordic Innovation, for instance. There's another one made by Citra. So I recommend also that you read those. Everything is for free and open. I also wrote a book together with other fantastic circular economy and sustainability experts before Christmas, actually, and it's called The Customer is a Planet. So if you want to read everything that's included in the CSRD EU reporting standard and how you should really work with your business in order to make it sustainable, you can read this handbook. So it's another tip for you. You can buy it on Amazon if you want to. We also developed a circular action guide, which we did together with the Exponential Roadmap Initiative, in order to, if you want just a super easy guideline on how to make your business and value chain circular, you can just send this. This is just a few pages in English. And you can use the QR code here if you want to download it, but otherwise you can just Google it. And what we say in this one, just to end how you should work, what you should start with, there are some key actions from this guide. So one thing that's very important that we see is, yes, if you're working in a big company and try to go from being linear to becoming circular, it's very hard if you're just a sustainability manager fighting to get everybody on board. The most important thing you can do is to secure top level commitment. You need the board and the management team on board. Otherwise, it's almost impossible to do this. But if you have a very engaged board and management team, it's super easy. It's not super easy. It's a big thing to do, but it's much, much easier. But the thing is, everybody in the company and organization needs to get on board and feel ownership for this transition. That's the best way to do this. But you also need to understand your value chain, both present and future. If you understand your value chain, you also see the risks and what you can do and how much more you can become resource efficient. It's of course about integrating circularity into your strategies. You need to, of course, set and implement, measurable targets, and also develop plans. And then, of course, engage your value chain. And then you need to keep doing it. Oh, something is missing here. It's supposed to stay. Let's see if we can get it to. It's supposed to say communicate as well. Very important. I don't know why it's not showing. Oh, communicate and influence. Here it goes. It was an animation. Okay, so those are the most important steps. Let's see. All right, that was it from me. Any questions? I'm gonna also add this if you want to add me on LinkedIn or email me. I'm happy to send you this